Do minifigs matter in a Lego set? Should minifigs matter in a Lego set? Those are two questions that I've seen a lot of people talking about over the last couple of weeks, especially as we head into the fall and winter release schedule. Now, there are some fans who will argue that Lego must give us super detailed and high quality minifigs, and others who will say I'm focused more on the build and the pieces and the display value than the minifigs. Now, with a lot of sets coming out this fall, you got the $1,000 Death Star, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Pirates of the Caribbean Black Pearl, and others, the USS Enterprise, right? Lots of sets are coming out, or I think you're gonna see a lot of discussion about minifigs. And in this video, I'm going to explain why I believe that minifigs do and should matter when we look at these large Lego sets. For some context for this video, because it's not coming out of nowhere, there are people that are chatting on our comments about the minifigs of various sets. I was a little critical of the Arkham Asylum minifigs, for instance, about how they didn't have a lot of dual-molded legs, and they used 6 of the minifigs with the orange jumpsuits. But there's also been this leak of minifigs from the upcoming $1,000 Death Star that has fans talking about the lack of, the details and new minifigs, maybe exclusive minifigs that they might expect to see in such a large premium set. So I thought it'd be worth talking a little bit about why some of these fans are so passionate about the minifigs, why it matters, but also I want to emphasize that this does not mean that the build and the pieces and the display value don't matter. I actually tend to side more with the build and pieces crowd than the minifig crowd, although because there are a lot of people who watch our channel and comment on it that really love minifigs, I've been upping my minifig game, and I actually have a bit more of appreciation for the minifigs over the last couple of years than I did before that. So that's what I want to lay out before we dive into the first of our reasons. And that first reason for why minifigs matter is because it matters to the history of Lego. If you go back and look at the company and how it's evolved over time, you will note that it went from making wooden toys to plastic bricks and then to the product that we have today. And in the middle of that, you will note the 1970s is where Lego started to do something with the characters involved in the sets. In 1974, you get these buildable figures that have movable arms, they have large heads and hair pieces, and they're much, much too big for the scale of a Lego brick, but it allowed for more character play. And after that, Lego started developing smaller versions of playable characters with sets that eventually turned into these weird non-posable minifigs, like a precursor minifig to the actual minifig that we got in 1978 with the movable legs, the movable arms, the faces that we all know and love from the 80s and 90s, those classic smileys, and all those wonderful things that followed. And so that evolution, the introduction of the minifig, was key to Lego's success. In fact, Lego has a website where they talk about role play and the importance of introducing the minifig to Lego sets that caused an explosion in sales of Lego sets and the ability for kids to tell stories and interact with the sets that they had. And thinking about it, it makes sense. Like Lego is about storytelling. It's about that development of the story arc and characters and interacting and using your imagination. And so having minifigs was a huge part to their success. And I also would argue that it helps set Lego apart from its competitors. I've got a couple of other companies that I look at for buildable toys. I haven't bought them yet, but Lumabricks and Fantasy are two of them, right? And if you take a look at those brands, Fantasy has minifigs. They're not terrible. Conceptually, they're similar to Lego, but they do lack some of the details. Like if you go to their most expensive set, which would be arguably the most premium one, there's maybe slight back printing, but not a lot. The legs don't have printing, and they're kind of blah. They're not to the same level as Lego. And if you take a look at, for instance, Lumabricks, which used to be called Funhole, their minifigs have gone through a change themselves over the last couple of years. In fact, if you check out this image from their 221B Baker Street modular, you'll see that these minifigs don't even fit in the carriage or the seats or any of the details that go with that set. It's purely a Lego-like building with non-Lego-like or non-scaled minifigs with it, which is, I think, an absolute disaster when you look at it from the minifig side of things. So these minifigs, discluding the clone brands that just rip Lego off one-to-one, this sets Lego apart. It makes them unique. It makes them on the cutting edge of the character play. That leads me to my second reason why minifigs do matter, and that is the evolution of the minifig has necessitated Lego to keep up with its own standards. Now look at these minifigs that we have from 1978. You've got the classic space figure right here. You have some other figures. You even have from the Yellow Castle, the legendary Yellow Castle. You've got minifigs that have stickers on their torsos. So some of them were printed, some of them stickered, and they're nice. They're good, but they're also pretty straightforward and basic compared to today. And we have seen this evolution of the minifig so that the details get greater, the quality gets better as we go forward in time in terms of all that comes with a minifig. I acknowledge, though, that there are sometimes Lego's hiccups in actually executing the improvements in the minifig, but conceptually you can see how it's progressed over time. 1989, we saw the first non-smiley printed faces with the introduction of the pirate theme. In the early 2000s, you got back printing on the minifigs, first with soccer characters that had numbers on the back, and then some NBA minifigs that had the names and numbers on the back. Notably, also for the NBA figures, it's the first time we saw non-yellow minifig skin tones. So that was a big advancement in 2003. The same year is when, I believe, based on my research, we got the very first minifig with arm printing, and that is the classic, iconic Boba Fett from the legendary Cloud City set from that year. Since then, we've received dual-molded legs. In fact, the first dual-molded legs, best as I can tell, came in 2011 with a Captain Barbossa skeleton minifig from the Pirates of the Caribbean. We've got dual-molded hair pieces, skirts of cloth and plastic varieties, capes, again, plastic and cloth varieties, more accessories, and other things going on with minifigs that make them really, really cool. And so fans have been seeing this development in minifigs over the years. Many fans who are that Gen X or the millennials, we know what minifigs were like when we were kids, and we know what they have become, that we have heightened expectations. Not because we're unreasonable, but because Lego has increased its own expectations. Now, why does it matter for some of these expensive sets? Well, I think it's reasonable for fans to want to get the best minifigs in the biggest and most expensive sets. Not saying that lower tiered sets don't deserve that, but I think it's reasonable to expect a certain number or percentage of minifigs to have those details that fans expect to see in those high-priced, premium, adult-oriented sets. Really, Lego has done this to themselves, right? If fans want more and better, it's because Lego has done the development of the technology, and the evolution of the minifig demands that fans ask for that. So as long as it's within reason, I don't see any problem with fans complaining about that. And the third reason why minifigs matter is because Lego fans have a passion for accuracy. You know, Julia and I were discussing an upcoming set on our road trip we took recently, and she was saying that Star Wars gets the first $1,000 set because it has so many passionate fans. And she's absolutely right. And not only are there passionate fans, there's a lot of them, and some of them even have the money to spend $1,000 on a particular Lego set. But with that passion comes expectations for accuracy. If you want a set, you want your minifigs to be detailed to what they actually are like, whether it's in Star Wars, whether it's Lord of the Rings, Marvel, or even in something that Lego's produced itself in Ninjago, right? There are people that will look at the Ninjago set minifigs compared to the depictions in the TV show. So we have these passions and we want them to be accurate because it makes sense. We've seen them before. even for LEGO's redesigning of Castle Minifigs. I think there were certain expectations of what they would look like after 30 plus years of LEGO being able to improve the quality of minifigs and adding details in terms of different types of printing. And that all plays into what fans want to see with accuracy. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that sometimes fans can go a bit too far expecting 100% accuracy when there are some spots that are open for interpretation, right? There are some times when a scene might have different variations of shading on different, whether it's troops or characters, or different scenes will have slightly different variations of a character's torso or whatever it might be. Sometimes LEGO gets bad information from studios when they are getting the information design sets based on what's going to be released in the future, so they get some things wrong there. I think we have to have a little bit of understanding when it comes to that, but I don't think it's unreasonable for fans to want accuracy when it comes to characters that they know and love from various books, movies, TV shows, series, and all of that. So that passion, again, it's coming from LEGO's ability to do this. So those are 3 reasons why I believe minifigs matter to fans. The last question that I want to address is, should minifigs matter? Now, if you're a fan who cares about the build and the pieces, kind of like where I'm at, should it matter to you that all these fans over here love minifigs and want dual molded legs and hair pieces and arm printing and all of that? And I think the answer is yes. I think it's good to have that variety of LEGO fan out there. It doesn't mean that you have to love them yourselves or that you have to elevate minifigs above the build and the pieces, but to understand where those fans are coming from and to engage in that discussion rather than being off-putting, like, oh, you just, you're too detail oriented, or, you have too high standards, or whatever it might be. At the same time, let's not forget that LEGO is a construction toy, right? It is about building something, and it is about using, your imagination and your creativity and problem-solving skills to put something together that is of quality to you or to the people around you. And so we don't want to lose sight of that key component of what LEGO is. Also, LEGO should care about minifigs, right? It's pretty obvious that fans are the ones buying LEGO sets, and if fans care about minifigs, and they care about the build process, and they care about the pieces, that LEGO should be trying to offer interesting experiences with all 3 of them. And that's, I think, where the tension comes in. I think LEGO is really trying to do some things right, but they oftentimes mess up. And I think fans' frustration right now is that they're messing up, at least in our eyes, with some of the high-priced, adult-oriented and targeted sets that we hope would have better and more details with the minifigs. Does that mean that people aren't going to buy them? No, but it does hopefully send a message, if fewer people buy them, to LEGO to improve that side of the product. The same way that I think we would expect LEGO to continue to develop new pieces, new building techniques, and new models that look great on display, or that have incredible piece selection that we can take apart and use for our own mocks, so that we can enjoy that side of it as well. If I left out a big reason why people love minifigs, put that down in the comments below. If you think I'm being unreasonable, let's start that discussion. Go ahead, put that in the comments down below. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and always remember to keep building together.